All right, welcome back. Week 3, Sunday morning quarterbacks. It's your boy Sosa Picks. Sunday morning quarterbacks. Been a great start to the season. My two co-hosts are almost here. They're late. They didn't show up on time today. So we're going to talk shit for about. I'm just kidding. They're sitting backstage. Spin and DMAC. We've started off the season right. All of our teams look really good. Really good. So we still have like that, that renewed, full-fledged energy, I mean, you would know if your team was winning. Obviously, if they haven't, it's a different story. But let me bring the two in, man. Y'all know Spin Doc, third year on the show, locked in, and our guy DMAC going for Rookie of the Year, man. Welcome. How y'all feeling?
Feeling good, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, doing good. But hey, made money the first 2 weeks. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's keep it going. That's the plan. Obviously, we're in week 3. Week 2, some surprises, like the Chiefs winning but not scoring 40 points. Like 17-9. Didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just an interesting week. Obviously, San Francisco handling business already in week 3, so I'm already the first one in the winner's circle. Hope to meet you guys there this week. You guys got the Bears and you got the Eagles.
Yeah, Philly. Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting week 3. Any thoughts from either of you about week 2? Anything that might have stuck out to you? Anything that has just been, beating a drum in your head in regards to, you seeing it take place last week? We start with Spin and then we'll go to DMAC. Whatever.
Yeah.
Week 2.
Yeah, on the show last week, I talked about with the Lions and the Seahawks about how the Lions, their big challenge would be to handle success. And there's a few more teams we'll be talking about that are surprises, including one in particular, that have to now go from being the hunter to, okay, like, all right, you got our attention. Like we're not going to take you lightly anymore. This is going to be a real game. So the Lions, I talked about if they're ready to take that step, then that would have showed about how to handle success. They didn't. Blew a lead, dropped it in overtime, had a few mental mistakes in there. So, what that tells me is that they're ready to be a good team, but are they ready to contend? I guess we'll see.
Listen, just remember, through 2 weeks, 0 sacks for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
0 sacks.
There's phases of their team that have been outright outstanding, but then there's other ones where you're like, if you're really going to make the deep run, like some people want to have you as their sleeper or darling, you can't just have glaring gaps and holes in certain areas, specifically on your defense. And while I have no doubt that Dan Campbell is, going to do everything he can and be as energetic as he can to try to fix that, you got to remember what this team was coming from when he took over a few years ago. I mean, they were bad, like really bad. So these next few weeks will tell us a lot.
Free Young Thug, by the way. Bad. That's all I could think of.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
But I think it'll tell us, our teams like that, are they ready to really take the step, or are we looking at, oh, you know what, they'll be a fun wild card team to watch. Those are my observations in general.
All right, fair enough. DMAC, real quick takeaways from week 2.
Yeah, I'll go a little bit on the other end of the spectrum. Just some unfortunate injuries. Just obviously devastating to see Nick Chubb go down the way that he did. Just a brutal injury. And unfortunately, we've got some rookie quarterbacks already on the mend. Anthony Richardson ruled out, for Sunday. We already have, obviously, Bryce Young down as well. And it's a tough situation. These guys trying to come in, trying to establish themselves and having it a little bit derailed to start out for different reasons. At least we've seen, some very positive signs from Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young dealing with extremely difficult circumstances to this point and trying to make it work, but not, having the bandwidth to do it at this current moment in time, trying to catch up his own self. So Unfortunate injuries, and now kind of one that hangs in the balance as we'll get to week 3. This is a pivotal week for a lot of teams to try and get in the win column. And one of the major injuries that is now just kind of floating out there, Joe Burrow for the 0-2 Bengals. What is his calf situation? Is he going to play? How well can he play? And can they turn it around in week 3 against a Rams team that is playing pretty well at this point?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Rams. That they've been very surprising. Obviously, we saw them go into San Fran last week and fight. I'm not going to say they competed because the second half they did a whole bunch of nothing. They put up they got you fantasy points. I'm not going to say listen. I'm not going to say they did nothing. They got us some fantasy points. I'm not going to say they did nothing. That would make me a hater. Not that they play in my division or anything, and I hope every time they set foot on a football field that they lose. But that's neither here nor there, right? Listen, my number one takeaway from last week, and I want to say it clear and into the camera. Lamar Jackson can run any offense that you put in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe that, I'm going to need for you to pay attention. I need you to pay attention. You want him to be a quarterback? He's a quarterback. He's showing you he's the quarterback. And I think that the general public needs to wake the fuck up and look at what listen, everybody's talking about injuries. Listen, Lamar Jackson been one of them once. He's been one of them once. You win 70% of your games, you're one of them. I don't give a fuck about the whole wins on a quarterback stat. When he's on the field, he's going to give you a chance to win. He's that good. Say whatever you want about him. But through 2 games, and damn near flawless as a quarterback. I mean, he turned the couple of turnover against Houston will equate to rustiness. The pick was a bad throw. Just shouldn't have thrown it. And then the fumble, cleaned everything up week 2, looked about as flawless as you can against a Lou Anarumo defense.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it fucked up either. Everybody always wants to give Lou Anarumo his credit. Defense has not looked good through 2 weeks. They haven't. They have not looked good. They made some plays in the first game against Baltimore. Lamar pretty much did whatever the fuck he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm going to say it like that. It is what it is. Lamar Jackson, comfortable in any offense. He's in full control right now. So enjoy what you're watching. Enjoy the era of quarterback you're getting because Lamar is one of them ones, and he's immediately back to showing people, listen, you want to put a different offense in me on me? You want me to make checks, check down, do all the shit at the line? Cool, I'll do it. So that's my number one thing. I don't think it's been talked about enough, and it's just that's where I'm at with it. Man, beat the shit out of the Bengals last week.
Mm-hmm.
He beat the shit out of them. So,
well, and you also got to remember this is, the difference between Greg Roman and Todd Monken is night and day. Roman runs 60 to 62% of the time. Monken is the exact opposite, passing and then also with deep passing. And what I like that Monken's doing is that knowing that Lamar is coming from a run-first offense and a bunch of route trees that didn't really involve a lot of deep stuff, a lot of deep shots, a lot of big chances, stuff like that. And Monken's offense is full court press aggressive. So what I like that they're doing is they're running a lot more of those play action passes, but they're running them on the short and intermediate routes, which are easier to connect. And then what you'll see if you look at a route chart of the Ravens receivers is that every so often over the course of the first 2 games, the number of deep routes gets bigger and bigger. And what that is that's adding more stuff to the offense that you would expect your quarterback to run. People don't understand how difficult it is to go from an offense that's basically like a ground and pound and you're like a second running back out there to being a pocket passer. People have no idea how hard that is. And so kudos to Lamar, but kudos to Monken too for giving him just enough of the playbook so far to be successful. And so from a fantasy perspective, Lamar and Zay Flowers are 2 guys. I mean, I wanted Zay Flowers before the season. I have him in mostly every dynasty league that I'm in. Is that, their fantasy value to me and Mark Andrews you should probably see that creep up over the next few weeks as more and more things get unloaded from the playbook. Keep in mind, the Ravens are playing with like 40% of Monken's playbook. They trust me. I watched Ryan Fitzpatrick run this offense. The first back when he started, the first few weeks of it was like four or 5 years ago. And when Jameis was out, and look, like he made Ryan Fitzpatrick a 400-yard pass, yard per game passer. And, you know, it's a little bit different because Fitz was used to that in some of his previous stops. But just imagine what Lamar can do even just stat wise, once he gets totally familiar with this offense. Because like I said, they're running 40 to 50% of the playbook right now, if that.
For sure. But yeah, again, week 2 in the books, on to week 3. I want to get into a segment I'm going to call Panic or Patience. We had this conversation. Got some 0-2 teams right now. You know, and they're not the usual suspects, although some would say they are the usual suspects and will tell us that they're going to win 12 straight games at some point. Some interesting, you know, storylines this week, given the performance of certain teams. First and foremost, the Chargers. We told them what was going to happen. We gave them the answers to the test. We told y'all what was going to happen. We literally said it almost word for word how it would go. And you saw it. You know, the Chargers sold it in overtime. Also, Kellen Moore's a bozo. I just want to throw that out there. He's a fucking bozo. People were lying about him. He's a bozo. He's a fucking bozo. First and foremost, we're going to get into the Chargers versus the Vikings. I'm going to get to y'all first. Panic or patience on the side of either of these teams. Both are 0-2. Both have quarterbacks that are making a lot of money, although one of them is not going to be under contract at the end of the year. The other one just got $250 million. Yeah, panic or patience. Start with either team. Whomever wants to go first.
Welcome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look, I'll start with the Chargers from this standpoint. Austin Eckler's not playing. Khalil Mack doesn't have a registered pass rush win rate rep at this current moment in time. But still, Justin Herbert, that pass game has some things rolling. Joshua Kelly, I think he's a serviceable back. I would not necessarily be panicking because I do think that they can go into the Vikings and win this game. But if they do lose, obviously, then you can hit that panic button. The thing for me is this. Simply put, you have to take advantage of the Vikings' deficiencies right now on defense. Brian Florence is going to throw a lot at this team. And that means early on, you can't just sit back and try to drop back and throw it on them. You have to try and establish the run, similar to the ways in which you were able to be successful in week 1 doing that. This Vikings team can be had on the ground. You have to come out and do that to make sure that Brian Flores can't tee off on you, because he will send blitzes. He will send, amoeba coverages from every which way and try to confuse you and give you a lot of troubles. And that's how you can get behind to a team like the Vikings that can put points on the board. And make no mistake, they will find a way to put some points on the board, because of the ways in which this Chargers defense is struggling. So, look, I think the Chargers will be in the wild card hunt ultimately. For me right now, I'm not necessarily panicking. On the Vikings side, I didn't necessarily expect them to be all that good this year. So they're right on track. That's just my personal opinion. Go ahead, Spin.
All right. So for the Chargers, I got to hit the panic button here, and here's why. So you're heading across the country on the road to a place that, despite being 0-2, I mean, I've obviously been there before because it's down the road from me, but US Bank Stadium is a pretty hostile environment. So you got all that. You're not going to have any Eckler. You're going to have all the injuries, to the situations that DMAC talked about. And let's say that you don't get this one. Let's just even say you fight hard and you lose by 1 or 2. Okay. Well, if you want to stay in the wild card hunt, some of your upcoming games, Dallas, at Kansas City twice, Dallas, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. I mean, there's a few winnable ones in there, but after this, you have 4 or 5 that they could very, very easily lose. And so what I look at is that, like, the Chargers need this one. Like, they need this one bad. I still maintain that if somebody other than Staley was the head coach, they would probably not be in the situation that they're in, but that's where we are right now. I think that if you're even going to want to try to push Eckler to come back, or you're not going to want to like risk any serious injury, you got to get a dub here in probably the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, depending on the severity of it, like you got to start thinking about, is this like, do we really want to give this guy 25 touches a game on a season where we might not be in contention? So I think the Chargers need a win really, really bad. For the Vikings, I give them a little more grace because I look at their upcoming schedule.
Jordan Addison just called me, by the way. He said that they've been saying Caleb Williams on 3 when they leave the locker room. That's why I was so stunned. Like that's what they're saying. But go ahead.
Even Kirk was saying it, right? No. So I look at the Vikings' remaining schedule, and you have some tough ones in there. You have KC and you have San Fran, but then you also have the Bears, you have the Panthers, you have the NFC, well, the rest of the NFC South, and you have the Raiders, and who knows what the Bengals are going to turn into. So I think for that reason, I'm probably not as ready to hit the panic button on the Vikings yet, but it is still a cause for alarm. This is a team that some people, not me, but some people thought that they could be like one of the darling super sleepers to creep up in the NFC. And this team just looks in disarray over the first 2 games. They're turning the ball over 5 million times. They are, and Flores is doing everything that he can, but there's just not enough talent on defense. And going back to what Sosa, you were saying earlier about one of the quarterbacks not going to be on the team. Yeah, if they're going to rebuild this defense, they're either going to have to sacrifice one of their offensive skill positions, and it's not going to be Jetta's, or what they're going to have to do is to sacrifice any contract to Kirk Cousins and look to go young for quarterback, and then rebuild their defense on the other side. So I think the Vikings have a little bit more runway, but honestly, if I have to pick one, I'm picking panic for both. Both these teams need a win in the worst way.
There are 2 untouchable athletes in Minnesota, Jettas, and we know the other guy. You're going to have to pry him from Alex Rodriguez's dying hands. The other guy is.
Yep.
Jettas is for sure, but the other guy, we know he's not ever. They will do. He's not going anywhere.
Nope.
You see $1 billion when you see that kid. But this is a football show, so I'm not going to say his name. Listen, I'm on the same page with you guys. Tomorrow, I like Jordan Addison for 100 yards. I think that tomorrow's his coming out party. They're going to do everything they can to bracket Jettas. Addison's going to cook them. Fast guys that you can't really touch, that you can't really get physical with, they tend to struggle with those guys. Jordan Addison tomorrow or today, cash him. I'm not even looking at the numbers. I'll take his regular number. I take him for 100 yards at the crib. I think he hoops tomorrow. Plays outstanding against this Chargers defense that got burnt twice last week by Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook for 70-yard passes. Let me say that again. Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook, Akine. I like my chances with Jordan Addison. Just saying, play it inside of his stadium. I just think it's a no-brainer. You roll with him. And I think the Chargers go 0-3. I believe the Chargers go 0-3. I think that Flores will be able to do enough to force either Justin Herbert into a mistake or his receivers let him down. Hate to be that guy. But until Brandon Staley is gone from Los Angeles, it's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing, brother, because they're going nowhere.
Yep. So if they do lose, Staley has, after this season, has 2 years left on his contract. Signed a 4-year deal in 2021. Would he be the hottest seat in the NFL? Or see, I would lean no, just because Spanos doesn't do that.
If they lose
tomorrow,
Staley shouldn't be allowed back in the fucking facility.
I would agree. I'm just telling you, that's not how Dean Spanos runs the team.
Justin Herbert got to speak up for himself at this point. He got to speak up. Okay, if he's really being a leader, which is what I heard, he's being more vocal. I heard all that bullshit all summer. Listen, some guys are just not leaders. They're good at the sport, but they're not good at leading men. They aren't. They just don't know what they're doing, right? to me, he's very AI-ish, very robotic.
Yep.
Right? Staley is even worse. Like he is like perfect answer every time. And then now it's like he's giving all the perfect answers. You see him getting agitated now. Now he's getting agitated because it's like you're asking me the same questions. Yeah, well, you keep fucking losing. So, and it's your fault. So
Right.
he's at this point, I think Herbert's got to stand up for himself and say, listen, this guy's gonna fuck my career up. That's what it is.
Right.
At this point, it's yeah, because every team has talent, bro. Every team has talent. Every team has a superstar. Every team has a star. The difference is the guy calling the plays and the guys running the show. They're the separating factors, bro. That's what it is. And like I said, every team has talent. They are going to ruin that kid if this persists. Because you can put up fantasy numbers, but if you're not winning, it's always going to fall back on you. No one's going to care about Khalil Herbert. They're not going to care about Bosa. They're not going to care about J.C. Jackson. They're going to say, you were the quarterback and y'all lost. It's the unfair reality that we live in when it comes to the NFL. It's just how it goes.
Yep.
So, one thing that I'll say is whenever you get an offensive coordinator that comes in and takes a job and is kind of like, okay, well, this is a nice situation for me. I got a good quarterback. I got some weapons to work with. I can design these things. It always gives me a little bit of a yellow caution flag to be like, okay, well, how much of a hot seat is the head coach on? I think that this is a similar situation to what you see in Washington right now, where obviously they're 2-0, so this isn't as pressing of a matter. But look, if they go 0-3 and they're putting up points, and that defense is continuing letting them down, what's the point in Brandon Staley? You brought Kellen Moore over. You obviously believe in him leading your offense. You believe that he is a future possible head coaching candidate. Let him take over the team. So that's my kind of mentality of I could see that move happening. But to your point, Spin, that's not something that Spanos likes to do for a multitude of reasons. So look, that becomes extremely fascinating of how much of a hot seat he would have to be on, because this is a team that had expectations, that spent a whole bunch of money last year. They got to the playoffs but didn't win one. They have expectations coming to this year of Kellen Moore coming in and revamping that offense to go 0-3 out the gate. Injuries, whatever aside, Brandon Staley is going to be looked at as needing to fix some things or get out.
All right. Continuing on with our patience or panic button segment here. We got two teams. One's 0-2, one's 1-1. One's lost the guy that was the shining star of the preseason on HBO's Hard Knocks. We're talking about the Patriots and the Jets. Patriots 0-2. Got the Eagles. Got the Dolphins. Offense looked average against very below average against Miami. Miami's defense did a lot of good things. Miami also stuck with their guns, even turned the ball over and won the game, which never happens when you play against New England. You turn the ball over a lot. They turned it over multiple times. They still won the game. Miami's looking good. Patriots defense looks good, like always. Gonzo's a star. Let's call it what it is. He's a star, man. It's just done with. Don't just stay healthy. You look at it. But we knew that was going to happen. Everyone knew Gonzalez with Belichick was going to be something. We just didn't think in his second career game he would play that good against Tyreek Hill. Like, he had a phenomenal game at 21 years old against Tyreek Hill, bro. Phenomenal. You don't see that from a lot of guys ever, much less for their second career NFL start. Outstanding. But again, 0-2, so none of it fucking matters. And then on the Jets side, 1-1. Josh Allen gifted him a game. Last week we saw the real Zach Wilson. He stood up. It was bad. Also, play calling was terrible. I think Nathaniel Hackett can't read books without pictures. He thinks Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback, obviously, if you're not going to run the ball more than 4 fucking times with Breece Hall. I don't understand that. Sometimes you got to look at your team or look at your coaching staff and say, you are the ones that failed us. Nathaniel Hackett failed Zach Wilson in that offense last week, no matter how you slice it. In regards to this game, I don't have too many thoughts. Probably not going to bet it. I do believe that Belichick will shit on Zach Wilson because he sucks. And also, they can try to give the ball to Breece Hall more this week. It ain't going to work. So that's the thing. They know what they have to do. They know what they have to take away defensively. Garrett Wilson, still a candidate because you saw with him, listen, all it takes is one catch to get 80 yards. So he's one of them ones. We all know that. Obviously, with Rodgers, we'd be talking about him as a premier wide receiver fantasy wise and in every platform in general. But no real thoughts, man. I don't have nothing. Y'all thoughts on both these teams? Listen, I'm not hitting the panic button in New England. Why? Because it's Bill Belichick. The Jets, I hit the panic button as soon as Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL or tore his Achilles. The panic button's been. I've been almost broken.
Matched it. It's gone.
Almost broken. So,
yeah, I'm not quite the panic yet either for New England. Look, a coach only gets you so far. We've seen that. Even somebody as great as Belichick. Look, they just don't have enough talent on offense. There's just not enough talent there. I think that, the defense is obviously playing very, very well. They threw a lot of different looks at Jalen Hurts and largely held him in check. They held AJ Brown in check, sans maybe like 1 or 2 receptions. And overall, in their first 2 games, the team has played well. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. I agree with you guys that I think the Jets were in panic territory before this game even started. They invested so much in Rodgers leading their offense this year and really had no fail-safe, no backup plan because it's Aaron Rodgers. And throughout his career, you haven't needed one. Well, now you do. So the props that I'm going to look at for this game tomorrow are I am going to continue to go with the Belichick takes away your top weapon. And for the Jets, right now, I still think even with Wilson at quarterback with Zach at quarterback, that is Garrett Wilson. So I'm actually looking for a under on yardage for Wilson, not for catches, because I can see a lot of short passes because they can't do anything else. But as far as the game goes, it's cliche because the two teams' offenses are so hideous. Looking under on this one. I know it's dropped a little bit. It opened at 38.5. It's dropped to 36.5. Might be willing to take a shot there for about a half unit, but I can see this game just being hideously ugly.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I'm not hitting the panic button for New England. They've played tough games against 2 really good teams. Obviously, we know what the Eagles are about. Dolphins have such an explosive offense. Their defense has been fine. I think their offense has been improved from last year. We've seen having an actual offensive play caller does help you actually run a competent offense. So ultimately, where I'm kind of landing with this is the Jets defense has not impressed me in the same ways that I wish that it would have. Like Josh Allen gifted him, like you said, Sosa said, 3 turnovers that first game. That should not really have happened. The second game, they gave up more than I thought that they should have. And so as I coming into this, like you said, Spen, they're going to take away Garrett Wilson. They're not going to give up much on the ground, even if, Nathaniel Hackett decides to run the ball like he should. I think that they can get after this Jets defense in the middle of the field a little bit. I love what they're doing with their tight ends at this current moment in time. So I actually am feeling comfortable with the Patriots victory here to get them off the schneid. And again, they just own the Jets. It is what it is. They just do. I don't know what the win streak is at this point. I think it's like 14 or something. Bill Belichick just owns the Jets. So I think they do a good job. They get themselves in the win column and put themselves kind of right back into that little hunt here to start off.
All right. Love to hear it. As you can see, my dog popped up. I think she likes an underdog. She's on her own with that one, though. You're on your own, buddy. Sorry. Ruby, you're on your own with that one, my friend. I can't help you. I'm with y'all. New England. Listen, season was over when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, brother. That's it. That's all. I know we're on to another game, panic or patience. It's a Monday night game. Obviously, we're talking about the Sunday games, but this does fit the role of panic or patience. We got the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals sitting at 0-2. 0-2 in the division. Quarterback looking banged up. He had the Theragun on his calf for the entire fourth quarter, it looked like. Listen, everyone knows how fond I am of this team. There's talent across the board. Superstar quarterback, superstar receiving core, expectations through the roof. making the Super Bowl in the last 2 seasons, making an AFC Championship game last year. Everybody believes in this team, as they should. They've shown us results over the last 2 years that would indicate that they're on the verge of being a dominant force in the AFC. However, 0-2 with your quarterback not looking great is cause for concern. I'm going to make it explicitly clear. If Joe Burrow is hurt, the season's fucking over. I'll say it for you. I'll say it for anybody that thinks they cannot compete with Jake Browning. They cannot compete with whomever they would bring off of the street. This team is made and built for one man and one man only. Number 9 in the Bengals uniforms. That's it. He don't play. Pack it the fuck up. I'm plain and simple. I'm that guy. I will be that guy. If anything wrong with Joe Burrow long term or he's not right, season's over. So, tank accordingly. And maybe you don't have to give. Maybe you won't have to give T. Higgins that $100 million. Maybe you won't. Maybe his numbers will just be so bad with the backups you can negotiate something cheaper. Just saying. I'm not throwing that out there, but I am saying. Okay? Force another team to pay him a lot of money. Franchise him. Get some money for him. Get some picks for him. I don't know. Sounds like a great idea if you ask me. Panic button if Burrow's not right. Not going to put your panic button yet. They're saying he's this and that. The Rams, they're not really a panic or patience. We just had to fit the Bengals in somehow, some way, because we're just such fans of the team, So, Spin, your thoughts on the Bengals? Are you panicking on them or?
I think you have to, and for the reason of, look, Burrow has clearly not been right. Even when you hear practice reports and you watch him in games, hasn't been right since injuring his calf in training camp. I know the team said that he was, back to normal and looking good and all that stuff. He doesn't look good. I will always believe that he was more hurt than they let on, but they just signed him to a gazillion-dollar deal. You got to get your money's worth off that. Burrow's a competitor. He's not going to want to sit out. So I think that what's happening now is their hands being forced, and you're forced into letting the man heal because I don't know the severity of Burrow's injury, but I also know that you don't want to win the battle and lose the war. And so, you put him out there and you risk a long-term or extensive injury for the chance to win one game. Now, this is an important game because you're 0-2. And if you look at their schedule coming up, it ain't easy. You got the Niners. I think you got the Bills. It's not an easy schedule to play. So, and
that's outside the division.
And then you still got the North. You still got the North. So this is a panic situation for me. When I watch them on offense, everything looks out of sync. The offensive line, which they actually spent up on this offseason, has not done they haven't done a bad job, but they haven't done a fantastic job. Receivers are not getting open at the frequency that they were last year. And it pains me to say, because he was a mainstay on so many of my dynasty teams, but man, Joe Mixon just looks old. He looks old. He looks a step slow. He looks tired. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he's got juice left in the tank. But you got to remember, this is a guy who he's been there his whole career, and he's put a lot of mileage on those tires, a lot of mileage. Then you couple it with, yes, nothing happened as a result of it, but you got the off-season distractions. There's just a lot of stuff going on with the Bengals this offseason, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Chiefs. I don't even care if you're the Patriots under, Brady and Belichick, is that when that stuff happens, it creates noise, it creates distractions. Now, for the game itself, the way I'm looking here is this total has already dropped from 47 to 43.5. I was looking under at the 47, probably not the 43.5. The line is for sure set like Burrow's not going to play. He returned to limited practice yesterday, but according to a few team insiders, he did not throw the ball very much. And when he did, looked like he was in pain. I would be extremely surprised if Burrow plays tomorrow. So he's on in your fantasy teams. You got to have a backup ready. Remember, plays Monday night. So you're going to have to make a decision on Sunday morning, unless you have another Monday night quarterback. So for assuming that he does not play, I don't even know if I want much to do with many of the Bengals pass catching props here. So I'll probably pass on all of those. The one that I think that you have to look at is, regardless of what the catcher of what the actual number is, Puka Nacua for over catches. I mean, the man has just been a target machine. He has Puka Nacua is leading the NFL in target share so far this year, 39.3%.
By a mile.
2 out of every 5 of the Rams passes go to him. Puka Nacua, the rookie. So you're probably not going to get it at a discount like you did last week when he just, he had one good week. So I would look there. And then, depending on what the final word on Burrow is, which again, I'm assuming that he's out. I think if you want to take any receiver props for the Bengals, you can look at those, but know that they are lined as if Burrow probably will not play. But for the game itself, the under maybe, and maybe a small look at some of the Bengals under props, Bengals receiver under props. But other than that, this is probably not one I'm going to be very actively invested in.
All right. Okay. Before we get on to the rest of the games, I just want to say something. We're not going to talk about the Chiefs and Bears game, because if you really need to know about that, go on ESPN, go on Twitter, they'll give you the.
It's not difficult to figure out. It's not difficult to figure
out. Go check that out. We got nothing for that bullshit. It'd be like if the Giants and 49ers were playing tonight.
Yeah, it
was really not much to say. One team's going to get bent over and beat the shit out of, and the other is going to win relatively easily. Mm-hmm. It's a 12-point spread. I'm not betting it, but I wouldn't recommend you not. Yeah. It's the fucking Bears. We've seen them. They're ass so far.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say really quick, as far as the Bengals and Rams, Tutu Atwell, I think his line's around 55.5. They had trouble with Zay Flowers, explosive, kind of small, shifty wide receiver. The Bengals defense is having some issues trying to stick with those types of guys through 2 weeks. I like what possibly he can give you, maybe 3 to 4 catches, get to 60-ish yards, and maybe hit on that. But I would say if Joe doesn't play, then I'm not hitting the panic meter, because that means that the Bengals are doing the right thing by Joe Burrow and making sure that they can, possibly stay in. Because you can get a wild card. You could go over 3 and still get a wild card because of how good their team be. But he has to be right. So if he plays, then I'm hitting the panic button, because they're not doing the right thing by him, in my opinion.
I didn't even realize you didn't get your take on that.
It's like, I'm doing this.
I know how much you like to talk about the Bengals.
Yeah, I know so much.
I've seen some of their fans call you a fan, or I don't know what that means. I don't know.
They love me. It is. Yeah, I'm very popular in Cincinnati, man.
Apparently, man. They looking at your LinkedIn every other day. But listen, on to the rest of this. Like I said, we don't got much to say about the Chiefs game. We know we have an idea of how that's going to go. First game I want to get into is the Titans and the Browns. Okay, Nick Chubb going down, very unfortunate situation. I'm not going to cop any pleas for. I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to say that line. The Browns lost their best player on Monday. Their quarterback may not have played particularly well, but remember, you lose your best player and the engine of your offense is going to be very difficult to adjust immediately in game. Also, losing Conklin week 1, no one seems to be talking about it, but if you lose an all-pro level offensive lineman, it ain't good. That's not going to help. And then, you pick 6 off your receiver's hands, strip sack off the edge from your best offensive lineman in left tackle, just gets fucking cooked. But again, he didn't perform well enough to win the game. And that's, again, it's the unfair fine line that we toe every week when it comes to criticizing a quarterback throughout the confines of winning and losing a game. It's just part of the game, and that's how it is. He didn't play well. They lost. It's his fault. Titans side, Tannehill bounces back. We told everybody what would happen in the game. Tannehill bounced back. Kellen Moore failing his quarterback at the end of the game. Brandon Staley giving up 2 70-yard touchdowns, which accounted for 65% of the passing yards that Ryan Tannehill was able to put up on the board. 20 for 24 from Tannehill. Just about as flawless a game as you can play at the crib, considering the circumstances. In this one, I like Cleveland. I think Cleveland wins. I don't trust Tannehill on the road. I don't trust Tannehill in big games. I don't trust Tannehill to watch my kids on TV. I don't trust Tannehill to go to the store to buy me a pack of smokes. I don't trust that guy. He just sucks. He's going to figure out a way to fuck it up. And that's just the trajectory of his entire career as an NFL player, in my opinion. Cleveland will figure it out. They will play well at the crib, and I expect for them to win the game. I like Amari Cooper to have a good game against these D-backs. Also like Elijah Moore to play well. I even like Njoku to play well. I think what you're going to see right now is you're going to see a lot more spread concepts with Deshaun Watson, especially if you're bringing back Kareem Hunt into the fold, who actually fits his skill set very well. So we shall see. But I do like the Browns in this one at home. I think that they will be able to limit some of what Derrick Henry does. I don't think he's going to go for 150 yards on the ground against their defense. And if he does, then I'll eat crow on Monday. But that's just how I see it. I like Cleveland in this one. We'll go DMAC first and Spin Doc, and let's go. What are your thoughts and takes on this one?
Yeah, look, and I'll steal something from my Kingdom Cast co-host Country here. These are my thoughts and only my thoughts. They do not represent anybody else on this panel here today. I think it's a put up or shut up game for Deshaun Watson. This Titans defense is well documented of stopping the run. They are going to take that away from the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson is going to have to throw the ball to put up points here today. I think you can get after this Titans secondary. It's got to happen at some point. Obviously, last year he was coming off a long layover. There was rust to knock off. We understand the inconsistent, poor play. Through 2 weeks, it's been a little iffy. I need to see him really put together a really good game here today, as far as I'm concerned. The Browns' defense is still in position, still intact. Their defensive line is good. They understand what they need to do on defense to try and get in position to stop this Titans team. I think they're far more sound. I don't think you'll see the same coverage bust like you saw from the Chargers. Like you spoke to Treylon Burks and Westbrook Akine really being able to create some deep plays. So I don't expect the Titans to put up a whole mess of points. Deshaun Watson should be able to win this game at home, getting back and throwing the ball. And so this is where it's at for me. Deshaun Watson, argue the same guy that we believe in at quarterback. Can you still get this team to the playoffs? I need to see it this week.
All right. Yeah. Don't disagree with any of that, DMAC. I also, so I'm with you. That was going to be the first prop I was going to give out for this one. Mari Cooper over 57.5 receiving yards is a little juicy right now on DraftKings at minus 130. I actually think that you could even take that up in the 60s if you're able to adjust to get a better price, or basically just take the 57.5 and adjust it to you get something that's even money. Play that. Would not be surprising if he has 70 plus. Cooper is also going to be spending the majority of his snaps going up against Christian Fulton. And just even when you look at, all things, measurables, PFF grade, stats so far, everything favors Cooper here. Remember, he put up 90 yards last week with a groin injury. So they weren't even sure he was going to play. And he ended up being one of the best receivers in the entire game, maybe just a little bit behind George Pickens, if you're talking about both teams. So definitely like Cooper today. I hope Njoku gets going. Real quick sob story. Njoku was my tight end in my biggest money Dynasty League, and his last catch put me over the mark to win by about 1/4 of a point, and then he fumbled, so I lost a point, and I lost by 1/2 a point. So I hope David Njoku comes alive, because otherwise the number of weeks on my team is going to be limited. But for the game itself, yeah, this is a brown spot for me pretty easily. I also like the Titans team total under. I think that Cleveland is strong enough up front to bend but not break to the running game of the Titans, and then that means you got to push it more to the pass and turn it over to Ryan Tannehill on the road. And yes, the turn it over was pun intended there, because it's a good chance that happens when you turn the game over to him. So the full game under, I liked it a lot better at open at 41.5. It's gone down to 39 or even 38.5, depending on where you're at. Don't like it as much there. That seems pretty in line, but I do like from that the Titans team total under both first half and full game.
Absolutely, man. I'm on the like I said, I think we all see this kind of the same way. Just going to cover a couple more games in regards to this week's slate. Not going to keep the people here too long, as we all believe the slate's relatively garbage. So there's not a shit ton to talk about, in my opinion. I think we all can agree on that. Not to hate on anyone's team, but that's just the reality of how things are, man. Some of these games are just not worth us talking about. The next game I want to get into is one that a lot of people would be surprised at. Listen, we got the 2-0 Atlanta Falcons taking on the 1-1 Detroit Lions. We spoke a little bit about the Lions earlier on. 0 sacks through 2 games. The Falcons running 1975 offense and continuing to look relatively good at it. Bijan Robinson, like we all knew, is one of them ones. He's special talent, man. Can't teach fucking reflexes like that. You either got it or you don't, man. That ain't no, well, he trains up. Nah, man, you can't train to do that shit. You just
That's natural born right there. Natural born.
Either got it or you don't, buddy. You just ain't. Well, we got this guy. Yeah, he's not like everybody else. It's just that simple. I think we've already through 2 games. The stop and start and the it's really like that. It's like that, man. I can't hate. Still think Desmond Ridder sucks. But hey, if you don't have to give him the ball, we won't even know that he sucks. If they don't ask him to throw it, it doesn't really matter. Listen, Detroit, Lord. First game, Patrick Mahomes was like, here's a gift, guys. I'm going to set your franchise on its way. It's supposed to be a year of renewed faith. We're not the same old Lions. And then you showed us that you're the exact same fucking Lions that we've always seen. You let Geno Smith come into your own building and just put you on the hub.
For the second year in a row. Same situation. Second year in a row. Exact same thing. Yeah.
What the fuck is that about? You let Tyler Lockett walk you off? Come on. Aiden Hutchinson, where you at, man? Has the supplements not kicked in yet? What's going on? I thought the secondary was supposed to be better. They're worse. Holy moly. Brian Branch doesn't get that pick 6. They'd have been talking about how bad it went. And then you think about it, you're like, damn, if Kansas City ain't dropped 1 million passes, they probably would have beat the shit out of Detroit. No one thinks of it like that. Like, no one watched last week and was like, damn, if they could just held on to 3 passes, they would have won the game easily going away. I guess revisionist history, right? Just listen. In this game, I like Atlanta. I got to do it. I like Atlanta. Until Detroit's defensive front can show me that they can do something to affect the other team's quarterback or running back at this point, I'm rocking with Atlanta. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I've talked a lot of shit on Atlanta, and I still think Desmond Ridder sucks. And y'all know how I feel about Arthur Smith. I wish he had a superstar quarterback because then this shit would be looking amazing. But it's a work in progress. And, give me Atlanta tomorrow or today, tomorrow, next week, the whole month, next year. I don't trust Detroit anymore. Ben Johnson, you're looking like radio.
Yeah. I talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast, Buzz, handling success. And part of handling success is when you do get knocked back a peg like they did, which, the Lions are kind of following a very similar curve as teams that were hyped preseason. So you get a little early season success, which they did. You drop a game you should have won. Okay, now you got to come back. And this is one of those other ones where I mean, it's a game against the Falcons on a nondescript September Sunday. I mean, these are the games that if you're going to take that next step, you just have to win. I don't care if it's by 1. I don't care if it's by 50. I don't care if it's 2-0, like a safety. You just have to find a way to win the game. Otherwise, it's very hard to take you seriously as a team that's going to go from like the cutest little contenders in the world to, okay, these boys are legit and they could legitimately go on the road in the playoffs and knock somebody off. I don't see that out of this Lions team yet. I see a lot of energy. I see a lot of hype. I see a lot of hoopla, but some of the technical deficiencies that they have, especially on the defensive end, especially some of the, I don't know if you guys watch, but like, I mean, I'm sure you have, but like some of the angles that they take on their tackles are just horrific. Just terrible angles on the tackling. And you're letting guys get 10, 12, 15 more yards.
All of their defensive backs have bad hips.
It's just,
I swear to God, as soon as those guys' hips turn, it's like trying to crank up like a 1960 Buick to get back to get back the stop and start. I swear to God, dog. And listen, they can be schemed so easily. Oh, it's if you watch that game against Seattle, holy moly, bro, those corners and safeties look awful. And it doesn't help that Gardner Johnson's out for the year now. That doesn't help.
Right.
That might be the same old Lions, man. I hate to be that guy, but Lord, something's got to change. Something's got to happen.
So I just got 2 that I want to give out for this game. The first one is a little on the cliche side. Second one is not so much. The first one is Bijan Robinson, 70+ yards rushing. It's at -115 on DraftKings. That's the path to victory here. I don't care, even with their lack of pressure on the quarterback. Look, if you even Desmond Ridder has shown, like if you even breathe on him with pressure, you can pressure him into doing something that you don't want him to do. So I do think that they don't really have a choice to rely on Bijan here. Not that he was a huge factor, but Cordarrelle Patterson is questionable, possibly going to play, but clearly not 100%. And the other one that might not be on people's bingo cards is Younghoe Koo, over 1.5 field goals at +105. That's on DraftKings right now. This is an indoor game. These are 2 defenses that have had trouble stopping people. Have gotten better, but have had trouble stopping people. And, you have a total for this one that sits right now at 46.5, and with hard leaning on the over. I think if you're going to get 47 or more points in this game, because I do expect it to be close as well. I have a lean on the Falcons to cover this one and possibly win it outright, but it's just a lean. But what I like here is if there's going to be 47 or more points scored in this game, which I think that there will be, is that should leave plenty of opportunities for Younghoe Koo. And I know it's only slightly plus money, but give me that at plus money, because if you don't take that and you think there's going to be 40, unless you think this game's going way under, where do the rest of the points come from? Like Desmond Ridder turning into Joe Namath, or turning into Peyton Manning. No, that's not going to happen. So
I'm glad you fixed that, because Joe Namath sucked his whole fucking NFL career. Outside of the guarantee, his fucking
the one Super Bowl,
was trash.
But either way,
sorry, fans.
No, you're good. But either way, is that, to me, just the simple game script for this one would certainly favor a couple field goal attempts by Koo. He's used to kicking indoors. He's used to kicking from distance. So those would be the 2 that I would go with this one.
Sorry. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk shit to Jets fans, I got it.
No, you're good.
D-Mac, thoughts on this Detroit Atlanta matchup?
Yeah, man. Look, I'm kind of with you guys on this. The Falcons are exceptional at running the ball. Look, if I don't agree with this general offensive philosophy, but if you're going to be a run-heavy team, do it like Arthur Smith does it. Have multiple backs that you can trust. Have a great offensive line as far as run blocking is concerned. And then have a quarterback that you don't mind taking the ball out of the hands of, which is exactly what Desmond Ridder is. And this team knows how to get that done. The Lions on the offensive end love to go over the middle. The Falcons have been very solid as far as defending the pass over the middle, because Jesse Bates patrolling there has been pretty good as far as that's concerned. I like the Falcons to fairly control this game, really get after them and run, and give them a lot of problems. I think it'll be low scoring ish, but I think they'll also have a few red zone trips. So if you want to sprinkle a little bit on plus money, Tyler Deal, I think is like 180 on DraftKings for anytime touchdown score. They like to give it to him when they get in close. I like that idea as far as possible prop play for you to go. So I think the Falcons win a close, kind of tight game. And the Lions have some soul searching to do. I always say that whenever you're, a team coming into a season, your strengths can carry you through the regular season, but your weaknesses will kill you in the playoffs. And as of right now, their defensive line, their lack of pressure, their lack of ability to stop the run, it's going to kill them, even if they do get to the playoffs. And so that's my major concern for the Lions as of right now. But for today, I do like Detroit to get the job done. I mean, I do like the Falcons to get the job done.
I'm about to say,
yeah, I'm about to say.
But not, listen, it's just like you said, soul searching indeed, man. Like, when expectations change, you got to put up or shut up. And if you don't, it's going to be a week-to-week business. You didn't perform well last week, you better make them forget about it. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at with Detroit. I'm gonna throw a curveball at y'all because I didn't really bring this game up before we did the preview. But this is what I do every episode. I figure out a way to fuck things up, right? Listen, next game is, as you can see, it's Bills at Commanders. Listen, I didn't want to get into this, but I'm gonna just say what I say. Listen, and look, my dog showed. Come here, baby.
Underdog.
Come on.
Dog.
She knows. That's why that's my – come on. That's why my dog.
That's my dog for sure.
That's my dog, bro. That's my dog. Come on. Come on. That's my dog. Listen, she knows. Eric Bieniemy knows this defense. He knows this defense. He's familiar with it. We see what he did against a defense he's familiar with last week. That's why I had to bring it up. I'm done talking about Eric Bieniemy. You want to see how good he is? He's already shown what he's worth in gold through 2 games. As far as play design, understanding personnel, what to exploit. I mean, the guy ran 3 screens on second down. Teams don't do that. Yep. I don't know if you know football, but teams don't run screens on 2nd and 5. They don't usually do that. And it's not usually how it's usually like a screen on like a 3rd down or maybe a first. You know what I mean? Just 2nd and 5, not usually. Called 3 screens, resulted in, I believe, 90 yards. This great play calling. And I'm a Josh Allen hater, so I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I like Washington. I like Washington to cover here. And I like Washington to possibly outright win the game. A lot of stock gets put into Buffalo. I know Allen gave up the game on Monday night, but listen, Del Rio got these boys fired up. And if y'all remember the first episode, I said that it's just a matter of time till all the Infinity Stones fall into place. 5 first-round picks on the D-line. Chase Young looks like he's trending back to that athletic phenomenon that we saw enter the NFL that beat the 49ers by his fucking self his rookie year. It looks like he's almost back to being that guy. And then the other guys next to him have all gotten better. Defensive front for Washington is going to give him a chance in a lot of games. The offense continuously getting better, which they will, is what's going to make us believe that they're a good football team. I told everybody at the beginning of the year, take a ticket on Washington to win the division. They probably won't. Plus 1,300, they'll got to take it. Too much talent in the building on both sides of the ball. And having Bieniemy in there now, listen, Del Rio's got the defense fired up. Bieniemy's got the offense looking like something. 6.5 points is way too many points. It is way too many points for this game. Washington will compete in this one. I would even venture out to taking them first half to keep it close first half. I like Washington. Y'all's thoughts on this one? I know people are, some people, Bills, I know the Bills are good. I even understand that the personnel packages that they're running this year are much different. They're using 2 tight ends. They're putting you in different situations. I see it. But I also know that 17 can be a fucking bonehead and can be forced into doing dumb shit when he goes on the road. So, D-Mac, your thoughts first. I know how fond you are of this Buffalo quarterback and their offense and whatnot, and I would like to get your thoughts first. Then we'll go to spin, and then we'll finish his team.
as familiar as Eric Bieniemy is with this Bills team, I am also very familiar with this Bills team. Look, I love everything that you said. 6.5 points. I saw that line. I was like, what? Are you sure? That's easy for me. The Commanders have specific matchups that if you're going into a game against Buffalo, you have to take advantage of. You have to have a defensive line that by itself normally can plug up some run holes, and that takes them completely out of the game. That's exactly what this defensive line can do. And when they decide to drop back consistently, gets after the passer and makes Josh Allen hopefully give you 1 or 2 mistakes. That's exactly what this defensive line can do. They have an opportunistic back end. I wouldn't say it's completely solid, but it is an opportunistic back end that knows how to get and take the ball away. I expect them to be able to get 1 or 2 turnovers in this game. As far as the Commanders' offense is concerned, Sam Howell, when he gets the ball out, he's fine. Eric Bieniemy, I think, learned his lesson week 1, was like, okay, we need to really just make sure we're getting this guy on time and on target. He is trusting Terry McLaurin. You saw the long touchdown that you saw to Terry. That was a throw that's like, I trust my – go ahead. I'll let you go ahead.
Best throw of the NFL season thus far.
That was a hell of a throw.
Best throw of the NFL season this far. That wasn't like a Mahomes had like a little. He had the escape one last week. The Sky Moore I like, but
that one,
the throw to McLaurin. Oh my goodness, bro! Whew.
That was a rocket. It was quarters coverage. He saw the other guy try to nail down on a dig that they had, and he said, "That's my guy. I'm trusting Terry, middle of the field," and he let it go. And that's a beautiful thing coming into the season. There were issues with Sam Howell holding the ball, and we'll see. Obviously, he's a young quarterback trying to make these starts, but you see all the tools were there for him to really have a good season. Eric Bieniemy is learning exactly what he needs to do to get him to that standpoint. And so I think they can get after this Bills secondary, even though the safety duo was good, but I think they aren't as great as they used to be. I think the Commanders will find a way to put up some points here. They will challenge for this game, and certainly 6.5 points was too much for me. And if you haven't heard, obviously, I like Terry McLaurin a lot. I think he's like plus 220 for any time touchdown. If you want to sprinkle something on that, I like those odds for him as well to get on the board.
All right. Yeah, for the game itself, totally aligned with you guys. 6.5 is way too many. I was even wondering if maybe we could get it at a 7, in which case I'd be very, very interested if we can clear that threshold. But either way, this strikes me as a 3 to 4 point game. Certainly one possession either way. The Bills looked more like the Bills last week, but we talked about this on the show last week. You had a Raiders team going across the country to face a team coming off of an overtime loss. I mean, everything was set up for them just to come out like gangbusters. Now it gets hard because now you got to go on the road and you got to go to, as you guys have talked about, one of the surprise teams of this year. So Commanders for sure. I like this week. Another prop that I actually like a lot is, and if you're in a dynasty league for fantasy, I think this is a guy you can try to buy easily, would be Brian Robinson Jr. He has an 82% carry share and has more targets than Antonio Gibson in the first 2 weeks. So I think that volume alone is going to carry him to at least a decent finish. As far as, and as far as his prop goes, look, if you're Bieniemy, you probably know that with Sam Howell, you can't get into a shootout that somebody like, say, Mahomes would. So I can see them keeping it on the ground a little bit more. Robinson's rushing prop is 54.5, like the over on that one. So Commanders to cover, and I would strongly consider on the money line as well. And Robinson Jr. 54.5 rushing yards. I think that you can also take his carries at over 14.5. That's a little more juiced at minus 135. So maybe if you can find it at 15.5 for a better price, I like it more there too.
We're gonna go the Terry and Jahan double. I like them both to score a touchdown.
Love that. Also, it should be said there was some talk, obviously, about the tropical storm possibly affecting this game. It looks like it may be able to clear up before it happens. We'll end up seeing that, but certainly monitor that, for all purposes. But that would only help keeping this game close should the weather be bad. But I expect it to be within that 6.5 regardless.
Absolutely. And we're going to get on to the final matchup. It's going to be a Monday night tussle, but it is Spin Doctor's team. And listen, Eagles traveling to Raymond James to take on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, a bit of a surprise through 2 weeks. Defenses look good. Baker Mayfield's look good. I don't have too much to say about this one outside of this. A.J. Brown is going to go off this weekend or this Monday, whether the Eagles win the game or not, which they most likely will. In my estimation, not going to give an exact score or any of that stuff. But A.J. Brown against this secondary should perform well. Give me him up to 100 yards. I think his numbers are like 63.5 or something like that. A.J. Brown this week. Matchup says everything you need to know. I like him. Spin, I'll kick it to you to close us out. Obviously, we covered the good games, all right? We're not going to sit here and talk about the Texans game. I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to happen. We don't want to talk about the Ravens playing the Colts. Not that we don't like those teams, but there's no reason for us to talk about those. So, Spin, take it away. Let us know what you feel about your team.
All right.
Your team and on the matchup.
All right. So what I said to my friends and family, because there have been seasons like the TB 12 years where winning was expected, success was expected, playoff runs were expected. And so I would watch the games on pins and needles because, like even one like a loss, you weren't meeting expectations. I came into this season with no expectations whatsoever, and it feels so damn good. I have to say that the most stress I felt as a fan was when we were trying to repeat after we beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was just like 2003 after we won our first Super Bowl. So no expectations this year, and it's paying off. And look, the part of this time I just want to use to give a shout out to Dave Canales, our offensive coordinator. He was the quarterbacks coach last year in Seattle for Geno Smith. Geno swears by the guy. He is in his early 40s, so he's actually relatively close in age to the quarterbacks that he coaches. And, Geno's just talked at length, and Baker has so far too, about just how personable he is, about how he's a player's coach. He's easy to talk to, kind of like Andy Reid in the sense that like guys can bring him stuff and say, hey, let's do this. Let's run motion here, this here. And he tries to incorporate that in the offense. He's like, yeah, let's do it. He's been a breath of fresh air because, I know there's varying opinions on this, but I think that Byron Leftwich got as far as an offensive coordinator as Tom Brady could drag him. I believe in Bowles. I never really believed that much in Leftwich. What I'm glad at is because Leftwich was a very old school coach with a lot of that's why we had Lenny. That's why we had some of those guys just plunge them up the middle, run up the middle, play action, throw over the middle. Canales likes running a lot of misdirection, a lot of, motion bootlegs, taking advantage of Baker's mobility, but not asking him to do too much. And that's probably the biggest difference that I've seen is on every play, every route tree, all they're having him do is just make the simple throw, make the safe throw. You don't need to roll out and try to chuck it across your body 40 yards downfield to somebody who might be open for a second. You have Mike Evans, who's 6'3". You have Chris Godwin, who's a catch machine. You just make the simple throw to those guys and take 5, 7, 8 yards per play. Those are first downs. That's the biggest difference that I've seen. Now, on the other side with the Eagles, what I have seen this year from Jalen Hurts is that while he's still putting up numbers, teams are throwing a lot of different defensive looks at him. And it's starting to confuse him. He's not performing poorly, but you remember last year, this offense they literally would score every time they had the ball. And there's a lot more shakiness this year. So that's what I would expect Bowles to do. And that's what I would expect a lot of the pressure schemes to do would be to mimic some of the things that have been done so far, especially some of the stuff that Brian Flores did, because Bowles and Flores coach a lot alike. And so, and they can bring pressure from anywhere. I expect them to dial up a lot of blitzes, a lot of pressure. For the game itself, just to close, Mike Evans receiving props, all of them, ATD. I'm going to take a sprinkle on multiple TDs. Look, they want this guy to get paid. His teammates want this guy to get paid. The coaches want this guy to get paid. The Bucs have already said that they will consider paying him, but not until the offseason. So this has turned into, we're going to feed number 13 the ball, and we're going to force you to cough up the money. And I love it. So Mike Evans receiving prop for sure for me at 54.5 yards, minus 115. I think that you can also take Mike Evans catches. Look, I know that Slay is on the other side. I know the Eagles have some good corners, but if you've watched the last, even the first 2 weeks of the season, Mike Evans is playing out of his mind. He's playing like a man possessed who wants to prove that they're stupid for not giving him a contract. So
I ain't never seen him run over the middle like this.
He has an aggression that I have not seen with the guy.
I ain't never seen him run over the middle of the field half as much like this. It's kind of crazy.
No, his teammates have said in practice he's like a man possessed. Now, as far as the game itself goes, I know that the line has slanted pretty heavily towards the Bucs. It opened at 7, gone down to 4.5 now. 4.5 seems about right for me. I think 4.5, I might take a small shot on that one. If there's no books that'll have 7 anymore, but if this game gets to 7, I think you can for sure take that because with the different looks that Jalen Hurts has been seeing, I just don't know if they've had enough time to prep for that and to adjust for that. So give me the I stopped just short of saying the Bucs win the game. God, I hope we do, because that will mean we've really arrived this year. But keeping it within a touchdown seems like a pretty easy task for them with how they're playing.
Y'all win this week, and New Orleans fans gonna have a cow.
One of the reasons why I want to, because Saints fans will freak out.
They will freak out if that happens. For me, this is a quarterback test game. Like you said, Todd Bowles coaches very similar to Brian Flores, which also makes him similar to Bill Belichick. He's going to send multiple different looks, multiple pressures from different aspects. He's going to mix and match, try to confuse the quarterback. Jalen Hurts, like you said, has struggled a little bit. He needs to find a way to try and generate something over the middle as well. He can't just live outside the numbers. Vita Vea is an incredibly good run-stuffing nose tackle. They have 2 good linebackers over there for Tampa Bay. So that run game is not going to be as dominant or maybe as great as it always is. So this is going to be a Jalen Hurts. How are you going to be able to diagnose these looks and get after the Buccaneers secondary type of game as far as I'm concerned? On the flip side, Baker Mayfield played fairly easy matchups to start out, Bears and Vikings. Now he obviously is going up against a better defensive line, a better, well-coached defense, but it's still a team that can be had if you're able to diagnose things effectively. And so Baker Mayfield, can you keep things rolling? Can you continue to play at a high level? Both of these quarterbacks have some questions to answer. I think that a touchdown probably is ultimately too much. I do have the Eagles winning the game, but I think that the Bucs have a good shot to cover still.
Yep. Just one more thought about that. I agree with you 100%, DMAC. And for me, if I want to start to think about that the Bucs will have a chance to win this game outright, I think 2 things needs to happen. Number 1 is that we need to get constant pressure on Hurts. If the Eagles offensive line holds up, because Bowles is going to bring it. I mean, he's already talked about how, like the way you get to a quarterback like Jalen Hurts is that you bring the heat. So like he's basically telling them pressure's coming, be ready. And so if the Eagles offensive line can hold up, that's going to leave our corners in single coverage, which is not friendly to us, especially for a big receiver like AJ Brown. Sosa, I agree with you on that one. I think that also from the tight end spot, I think if the offensive line does not hold up, then Dallas Goedert can have a nice day with catches. And then on the Bucs side is that not that Baker is going to have this like Brady in his prime Herculean effort to come back, makes his big comeback and win the game, but can he do enough? Not that he has to help you every possession, but just don't hurt you. If he plays within himself like that, I can see this being a 1 possession game. And at the end of the game, we'll see what happens. But like I said, offensive line, we need to get pressure on Hurts. If we don't, Eagles are in for a field day on offense. And number 2, on the other end is Baker needs to not necessarily go over the top, but just do what you've been doing, make the simple throw, and don't hurt us.
All right, listen, all I got to do is say that. I say one thing. Listen, Eagles fans, y'all need to stop fucking lying about how good Dallas Goedert really is. He is who he is. He's an average tight end, man. I mean, you know why y'all care? Y'all care about the fact that you moved up in the draft to get him. He's gotten knocked the fuck out in his hometown, and he's not who people think he is. That's all I'm saying. I got Dallas Goedert. The idea of Dallas Goedert is good. The actual Dallas Goedert, pretty mid. And I'm going to say it because Eagles fans keep fucking lying about him. Being a special athlete don't make you a good tight end, brother. You know what I'm saying? You better thank Zach Ertz for making you that money, brother. Because Zach Ertz is still better than you. All right, moving on to – oh, yeah, I said it. I'll take Zach Ertz over Goddard today. Goddard stinks. I don't know what I don't get it.
I want the Chiefs to trade for Zach Ertz, so you're not gonna get any complaints.
Yeah, I don't get the whole obsession with Goddard being top 5. He's not. I don't get it. What does he do? That's so great. He gets subbed out on run plays, so Stoll could be the lead runner for the quarterback. Oh, okay, because that's a good tight end. Oh, my bad. The combine number, we're still living off the fucking combine number 7 years later, bro. Get over with. He's not that good. Sorry. But yeah, that's go ahead.
Can I ask real quick? So Kelsey, Kittle, Hawkinson, Andrews, who's the 5th? Waller? I mean,
who's the 5th?
Yeah.
Pitts.
Think Pitts.
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm gonna give Pitts the benefit of the doubt because we see him. Okay, here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams made a very good point when he was doing an interview during the summer. And he said, we can only control but so much as a receiver. It's when you go back on the tape and you look, did we get open? Let me tell you something, brother.
Pitts be getting open.
Let me tell you something. It ain't him. It is not him.
Nope. Mm-mm.
That motherfucker is Waffle House, brother. He's always open. They just don't throw him the fucking ball. So, again, I know people want to make it a thing. Listen, bro, Kyle Pitts just ain't getting the ball. If you look at the tape, the kid is always open. I mean, can't no linebacker stick with him. There not too many corners can stick with him. It's just they don't throw him the rock. But you look at the tape of that kid, and it's just, damn, it's like, man, they're just wasting them. And just that's how it feels at this point, man, because production is going to have people looking at them a type of way. But if you don't get the targets, there's nothing you can fucking do, bro. There's nothing you can do. If Garrett Wilson is getting open on every play and Zach Wilson's the quarterback, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, yes, I will advocate for Kyle Pitts until he gets a quarterback that can get his head out of his ass. So, what about – Spin, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I'll counter with one who is in a very similar situation. Quarterback needs to get on the ball. Darren Waller.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to disagree with Waller. I think that the issue of Waller, the injuries.
Okay, that too, yeah.
I just don't know if he's the same guy that he once was because, like, those injuries, I have played a toll on him. And when he was at his athletic peak, he was a different breed. It's just, is he ever going to get back to that premier athleticism? Because that's what it was, bro. He was 4'4" at 6'6". Not too many people doing that.
Right.
Right. So I agree with Waller being up, but Pitts is just, you look at the tape, bro, and my God, he's scorching linebackers, safeties, corner. It don't matter who was in front of him, and they just refuse to get him the ball. It's got to be frustrating for him. It's got to be. It's got to be. So, but yeah, that'd be the 5th guy. Listen, that's this week's episode. You're looking for any more information? Catch us on Twitter, DMACWake316, Spin Doc Sports. Win the date VIP if you're trying to get that extra change. We appreciate you all for tuning in, and let's have a wonderful weekend. Man, let's have a wonderful Sunday, and let's get to this money. I appreciate y'all. Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Yep.